All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello again to those of you who are already back. My name is Phil Gallagher, and I run Thraben University, a site dedicated to legacy, death, and taxes. And that's what we're going to be playing this afternoon. So this is a donation stream, courtesy of Safali from the chat. This morning I streamed with 5-Color Humans, and I mentioned I was kind of interested in streaming again this afternoon since there's a bunch of flooding here in Roanoke, and I can't really do a ton. And he donated to make this happen. So this is a deck list that I tried once before, and I went 4-1 with it very easily. My only loss was to Red-Black Reanimator, which isn't surprising. So this deck list is built with value in mind. That is the ability to outgrind some of these other mid-range matchups that we've been seeing recently. The format is full of things like Miracles and Grixis Control and other mid-range, all sorts of decks, really. There's things like 4-Color Loam and Maverick and D&T and Death Shadow Delver, but there's relatively little combo right now. And because of that, some of the cards that previously were very powerful are seeming less impactful. So I'm playing more things like Hallowed Spiritkeeper, Palace Jailer, Walking Ballista, and more copies of all three of those in the sideboard because they're great against fair matchups. But you'll notice that a lot of the sideboard staples like Containment Priest, Either Sworn Canonist, Surgical Extraction, Fairy Macabre, that otherwise have been floating around in the deck lists aren't here. This is a deck list geared to bully on fair decks. We are a little softer against combo than traditional D&T, and that is 100% intentional. So I expect to beat things that aren't Red-Black Reanimator with this deck, and I expect to lose to Red-Black Reanimator. Red-Black Reanimator is about 4% of the metagame right now, so I am kind of okay with giving up some percentage points against that. Let's battle. Alright, so not humans, D&T with Spiritkeeper. So note that if I was actually going... Oh, title says humans, though. Uh-oh. Let's fix that. Fixed. We are indeed the tax man today. All right. So, before we go into round one here, what is the greatest number of tokens we will make with Hallowed Spiritkeeper today? Little sub-game here. How many spirits can we make with a Hallowed Spiritkeeper in one death? Well, Lasco, congrats. What do you have a break for? Right around now. Eight. 8 would feel real good. Oh, like, that's actually super awesome. This hand does literal nothing. We mulligan. We can't keep something that has 1 land and 4 3-drops here. That's how this league's gonna go, huh? Okay. The good news is my opponent's probably playing a crap deck. The bad news is I can't really punish them for that right now. I guess I can port them and try to figure out what number to put Sanctum Prelate on. Opponent playing bad deck confirmed. So the good news is, I probably like my chances in this matchup, whatever my opponent is doing. The bad news is, this game might be rough. Yep. Okay, this is actually quite good. Note that since there's an Urborg on the battlefield, all of those lands are swamps, so tapping the Buried Ruin is 100% optimal in comparison to the others. Alright, Hymn to Turok is decent there. We're playing this one real slow now. Note, even though that looks kind of bad, my opponent has the Crucible, so they can just replay their land. So that's actually a fine play, even though it looks a little bit anemic. Oh yeah, like, my opponent is not playing a strong deck, right? Like, I am very likely in this game for the rest of the game. Like, all I need to do is draw, like, a creature or two, and then this Liliana does nothing. So it's my opponent's deck's strategy. They can't really do anything else, right? Man, this new Moto update is super poor for Aether Vial users. It's very frustrating. So now my opponent minuses Lily, takes the mom off the table, and then, like, any real creature I draw answers the Lily. So note that this one does not answer the Lily in one turn. What are you going to do with that Dark Ritual? Well, I let it happen. Yeah, you've got a Bitter Blossom. There's not really a reason to cast the Dark Ritual, but I guess if you're discarding it anyway, it's fine. Oh, that's an amazing draw. I'm just going to take out this Lily now. There's an argument for, like, trying to keep it and, like, using it to get rid of the token, and if my opponent, like, draws a card that they can't cast, then they can't, like, plus, but I don't know what can go wrong if I keep it around, but there's the possibility that something does. So my opponent has this Bitter Blossom, but, like, any decent top deck creature is going to beat out this Bitter Blossom. So I'm still not worried, and I'm still probably very favored. This, not a great draw. What are you doing in the beginning of combat there? We're breaking off super hard. So we're looking for a Crusader, Revoker, Stoneforge. Anything like that would be great. Is this a moment to just get Jitte? Play around discard. So my opponent attacked me for 4, then 5. If I play Stoneforge, put Jitte into play, my opponent can trade 2 Fairy Rogues, and I would essentially... Or my opponent can trade a Fairy Rogue for my Stoneforge, and then I get 2 more. If I get Batterskull and my opponent just like Sinkholes or Wastelands this Karakas, then it's not good for me. So I am probably supposed to just get Jitte here. The fact that I discarded Batterskull on like turn 2 of this game also makes getting Jitte the correct play. So note there's a lot of things that can mess with me here, like smallpox, innocent blood, anything of that nature. Another Bitter Blossom. That is brave. Man, our draws have sucked. Alright, it's good to know that my opponent's bad. Like, that's a case where you certainly triple block to play around a Flicker Wisp. That's important information for later. So if I just nug these both, I'll take 2, then 4, then 6. So I'm on a 3-turn clock. If I don't nug these and I gain life, I'll take 4, then I'll take 6 and be dead. So it is correct to just kill these. I'm trying to decide if I want to just play this land to port. I don't really think my opponent has a Liliana. That would have been a better play last turn than Bitter Blossom. This might, like, make them use a discard spell on me. Yeah, I'm going to hold this. Yep, agreed. How can we draw this badly? That was very frustrating. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lands to 1, 2, 3, 4 to 13 spells. But most of my spells got discarded due to necessity. These are cards that I'm thinking about. I don't really want Source of Plowshares there. My opponent has very few or maybe no creatures that I actively care about. Well, my opponent has no ability to close the game, right? That's essentially the big issue with their deck, and why those like pock sort of strategies aren't good, is because they can do a lot of damage very early on, and then they can't capitalize on it. So Mom isn't like super amazing. Some of this top end stuff is maybe not good because it's bad against the mana denial. But if the game goes super long, then something like Gideon is just absolutely nutter butters insane. Mom is something that's likely to just give my opponent good value off of their smallpox. And they probably don't have all that much spot removal. Like, there's certainly going to be some, but it's more likely to be things like Innocent Blood, Smallpox, Toxic Deluge, Massacre, where this is just going to get caught in the crossfire. And I could see myself wanting to cut one Flicker Wisp. The Ballista's really good to finish off Lily. And if I get a lot of mana and it's just unchecked, it's very powerful. This hand's medium. I'm going to keep it. Note that I'm going to lead on Port over Plains in case my opponent goes Dark Ritual into Sinkhole or Smallpox. Well, Jailer's basically an unbeatable card if it comes down. So I do think I want it. So this one's going to get Batterskull. If my opponent kills this Stoneforge or takes this Batterskull, I have another Stoneforge down the line. Pithing Needle named Stoneforge Mystic. Not bad. So I don't think I want to Council's Judgment this. I don't think that's like a good use of this card when removing a Planeswalker or a Bitter Blossom is so much more important. My opponent also knows I have this from the Thoughtseize. So I'm going to go ahead and get Sword of Fire and Ice. I know I could, like, Jitte and connect next turn, but anything that says draw a card on it is pretty spicy versus this deck. That's an amazing draw. So if my opponent has a 3-drop sweeper and I play Thalia, they can't sweep me this turn. If I just play Sword, my life's probably better in a lot of situations, though, because it pressures my opponent to remove these. And so next turn I can go Sword, Equip. If it just works, then I bash in for a third of my opponent's life total. If it doesn't work, then like afterwards I deploy a Thalia. I'm a little hesitant to commit a third creature to the board in case my opponent does have something like Massacres. Like, I don't know how likely that is. I'm not overly versed in Pox deck lists, but Massacre seems like a deck that a card that they should be playing. All right, so I'm going to get punished for not playing Thalia in all likelihood. Oh, man. This is great. Note, I am just going to go for it here and make my opponent have something like Fatal Push, otherwise I get another card and do a lot of damage. That was just about the best draw possible there. What value do I gain out of using a Council's Judgment on that Crucible? All I'm doing is stopping them from wastelanding. So my opponent has shown me weakness here. So I'm gonna go hard with, now that I know, there's blood in the water. We'll get this out of here. We don't have to deal with it for the rest of the game. Nug my opponent for 6. Make this Stone Forge lethal next turn. And now we just have like a fistful of unbeatable cards, and my opponent's going to have to answer all of these somehow. Sinkhole. Good job. You did it. What a good deck indeed. All right, do I want to change anything now? Opponent didn't really show us anything new there. I don't super care about Crucible. I don't super care about Nether Spirit. Nether Spirit's probably a 1 of. Crucible's probably a 4 of, but it doesn't do a lot since I have 14 basics and vials. No, I don't really want to play Chalice. Yeah, Arkin, I think Spirit Keeper's pretty darn good. This is a great hand. And that goes to the top. So, like, Spirit Keeper's really good against non-white decks, essentially. So, like, against your things like Death Shadow Delver and Grixis Control and other mid-range decks, it's somewhat of an unbeatable endgame bomb. Because, like, either it's a 3-2 like True Name Nemesis that can never be blocked, or it eventually dies and creates an army that demands a very narrow answer. Yeah, Sword Equip. I scried that to the top, so I knew that was coming. Yeah, see, like, these sinkholes are just so bad in the face of Aether Vial. Like, yes, my opponent stopped me from playing Athalia this turn, but now what? Okay, you can Needle Vial. I still have a handful of gas. You would need to then follow this up with, like, another sinkhole or something for this to be good. Nope. Nice Wasteland and Ghost Quarters, friend. Dark Ritual. Alright, Dark Ritual into Bitter Blossom is solid. So I need to revoke Curse Scroll, and then Mirran Crusader can just take over this game. Note, I can't... Can I Relic Order that safely? I guess I can Relic Order that safely, too. I should probably Relic Order it and then leave the Revoker in the deck for a Planeswalker. But at the same time, if I leave the Relic Order in the deck, it can answer the Bitter Blossom later. So I guess I should get Revoker. But Relic Order can attack into one fairy. So it's kind of a wash. My opponent does not know how their deck works. Holy shit. Playing that land was awful. Awful. Now they can't Curse Scroll. Good God. So my opponent is very, very, very likely... Actually... So I'm going to get Jitte here, because it's the best against Bitter Blossom, and even if Stoneforge gets removed, it's still good. Opponent also doesn't know how to bluff that they have something, which is additionally good for me. My opponent registered Pox. I have no sympathy. Yep. There's basically nothing to be gained from playing the land. Yeah, my hand is very, very good. Ooh, man, what does Flicker Wisp do? Flicker Wisp means I have lethal next turn if I draw a land. Not gonna play out the second Aether Vial. Gonna hold it for him to Turok reasons. Four, five. So I can just Gideon minus, make an emblem, but just Gideon and shit knights everywhere is probably fine. I have a wealth of riches here. My opponent also probably literally has no way to kill me quickly enough where they don't die to their own Bitter Blossom at this point. Yeah, I wanted to be the Monarch too, but it just wasn't correct to play it. Like, our other plays were just superior. I enjoy being the pretty princess. Yeah, Marchesa is absolutely insane. I played the 4-color Lone Mirror, and my opponent had it, and they hemorrhaged cards and played like crap, and it just did not matter. Like, they had boarded ley lines in for the mirror, and they drew 3 of their 4 ley lines, and, like, it still didn't matter. Note that I still am in the category of being a shit 4-color lone player. I've not played that deck enough to be anywhere near good. Build deck to hedge against everything except Black-Red Reanimator. Play against Black-Red Reanimator every time I try this deck. I really hope I draw Caracas to punish just not going for the Ashen Rider. Shoals Cube, I have a copy of that land sleeved up. It's called Throne of the High City. It's in my box of cards that I keep around to have as a 1-of for D&T. Note, I do kind of think my opponent misplayed on their turn, but it's probably not going to matter. So they could have used Cabal Therapy to just sacrifice Ashen Rider and blow up one of my lands. And I think, like, that might just be superior to anything else they're doing. Especially, like, if they have another reanimation spell, then just, like, Ashen Rider into Ashen Rider is so good. Yeah, so, like, if they had that reanimate, then I think last turn, or even this turn... Alright, Cabal Therapy, my own Spiritkeeper, is hot. I do like that. But I don't think that's better than just, like, getting the sinkhole on me. So now I am just dead on board. Alright, well. We'll see if my opponent punts and gives me some flyers. They did not. So basically, we bring in anything that can interact with their critters. We board out the moms. We probably board out the Stoneforge Mystic package. And then that puts us at 60. We should also probably trim a land. So note, this is a matchup where Chalice of the Void is super awkward because, like, you are playing these one-drop removal spells that do matter. And you're also playing Chalice. This is the one matchup I made worse with this deck configuration. Maybe Ballista isn't all that good. Actually, Ballista eats the Chancellor trigger. I guess that matters. And it's some reach if they go super low with the Grizzlebrand. This hand is not great, but it's fine. I should consider a Chalice on 0 to stop, like, a Lotus Petal this turn, but I am not going to do that. I'd rather have 2 Chalices on 1 that I can play if my opponent just, like, Thought Seizes me this turn. Speak of the devil. So my opponent makes no play here. Now they're on, like, hard discard a creature. So we don't have any graveyard hate attached to a creature. So I kind of have to make a choice about, like, how I want to approach things. If I draw a white source, if I draw any land, I can Chalice on 2, which stops their idiots. Like, then Entomb, like, all the reanimation spells are stopped if I get a Chalice on 2, so I don't need to get Prelate because I already have that covered. So I should probably just get a piece of removal, which would be Palace Jailer. The other viable line, I guess, was just get Thalia and try to buy time to get to Chalice, but if I get Thalia, then I can't actually Chalice on 2 reasonably. Oh man, they don't have it yet. So there's my white source. Am I just playing Hallowed Spiritkeeper? Or just jam Palace Jailer? What if I just pump Walking Ballista? No. So, I just Palace Jailer and start drawing more cards. And then if I draw another land, I can Chalice and Void the next turn, but I would have no answer to Gristlebrand at the ready if I do that. So I guess I'm just going to Hallowed Spiritkeeper this turn. Note if my opponent puts a Grizzlebrand in play, Assassin's Trophy, Chalice of the Void. You sure as hell should not have done that in my main phase. No, we don't need to Chalice on 0. There's a Thalia in play. Oh, shit. I wanted to Wasteland. Let's see if that costs us the game. So just to like talk through something for a second. If my opponent casts a Lesh Norn with my Hallowed Spiritkeeper trigger on the stack, I would have just Swords to Plowshare the Lesh Norn, and then I would have gotten 5 1/1s. Now that I want to draw, I think I'm going to make that change. It's possible that since this makes flyers, I'm just supposed to play it over Crusader. Or it over Wisp 4. Yeah, I don't find Grixis Grixis Control to be a super enjoyable deck to play. Alright, my opponent's mulligan. I have Rest in Peace in my hand. It's one of my 2 graveyard hate cards, so I'm not throwing this one back. We'll just see if we get turn 1 again. This hand is a little soft to a piece of discard, though. Because Rest in Peace is really the only good card in my hand. Scry to the bottom. Alright, Faithless Looting, bin, double creature, land, reanimate. Just fucking have the turn 1 again. Alright, animate dead. Fucking deal. I have my Battle Cat. God damn it. That's so fucking annoying. Like, I can still beat this, because I play Rest in Peace this turn, then Flicker Wispy Animate dead. So it's fine. It's just... they always get everything. So my opponent figured out what could happen if they just, like, don't take the rip. So they took the Relic Warder, rationalizing that they could do dirty things to me if they rip a reanimation spell off the top. So if my opponent rips a reanimation spell, they get Elesh Norn into Archetype of Endurance. Is there anything I can recruit her for to make that better? Probably not. This is probably just where I jam Crusader this turn, and then try to port them off of mana for the rest of the game. Safali, I think we're in round 2 now, so no, you have not missed much. We played against Pox and bullied him pretty hard, though it took a little while. All right, so this is 4, 5, 6. I can make it 7, 8, 9 next turn by committing another creature. Neat. All right, so we're 2 and 1. Yeah, but Fairy's a bad card, so we're not playing that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run to the restroom real quick. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Hello, folks. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site exclusively for legacy death and taxes, and that is indeed what we're playing today. This is a donation deck list brought to you by Safali from chat, and this one is featuring Hallowed Spiritkeeper. If you have any questions about the deck list at any time, you can scroll over the Cardboard Live extension on screen. It's on the left-hand side. It's a little kind of grayish box with a card with a microphone on it. You can click that to pop it out and scroll over all the cards in the deck list. We're playing a couple of Hallowed Spiritkeeper and Walking Ballista, which it's a little bit spicy. Yeah, the 4-0 into 4-1s feel a little bad, but like it's not that big of a deal. Hallowed Spiritkeeper's been very good. Just generally speaking, it's great against the fair matchups, and it has the potential to do some weird things in other matchups as well. The chalices in the sideboard are stellar. There's no looking back for me right now. Like in the current metagame, I'm convinced that Chalice is just strictly better than most of the other sideboard options. Yeah, Lumber Boy, that's rough. 12 trophies is great. I think I ended up with like 6 or 7 or 8 somewhere in there. It was a middling number. It wasn't anything too exciting. Like the funny thing about my trophy count was that like almost all of them came in like the tail end of the summer. Ooh, my opponent might be playing something spicy. I think if I like played D&T every time that I was like playing on Moto, my trophy count would be much higher. But like as I've already said, I don't really care about my trophy count all that much. Like unless you're going for spot 1, it doesn't particularly matter. And I don't grind nearly enough to try to make that feasible. I did some grinding at the tail end of the summer when I was like streaming 2 leagues a day. Yeah, my opponent's playing a spicy deck list. That's Chrome Mox, Imprint, Vindicate. Play Barbarino. Unfortunately for you, opponent, I have this here Wasteland and a Swords to Plowshares. Oh, my opponent's deck list is sweet. It's super sweet. I think it's probably going to be some sort of like Dead Guy Ale deck. Oh man, losing a Lingering Souls hurts. But Liliana's sweet. Man, I'm super well set up to like beat this Liliana though. So my opponent pluses and I junk this Swords to Plowshares. And then I go Land Spiritkeeper. It's unfortunate that I'm going to lose this sword, but Spirit Keeper is great. We're going to give my opponent a smiley face in the chat. They say that's a good one. You, sir, also have a good one now. Woo! Alright, will I trade these two spirits for a 1/1 token? So this is interesting. If I make this trade, then if my opponent top decks a removal spell, they get me. If I don't make this trade, then the Hallowed Spiritkeeper just stays around as Liliana insurance. Actually, sorry, to correct that, I would get 2 spirit tokens. I already have a Thalia in the graveyard. So I probably do make this trade. Sword Equip, thank you very much for the bits. I appreciate it. Do I have a mom in there too? I do have a mom in there. Yeah, we get all the spirit tokens. Alright, deal with that, opponent. Alright, that's a pretty good sequence. That's a gross top deck. Yeah. Hero of Bladehold! Well, this ain't gonna do it. Captain Haddock says, my token maker might be a little better in this board state. Alright, so I probably want Hallowed Spiritkeeper, Ballista to shoot down tokens, Gideons for value, Palace Jailer, or Council's Judgment, this. Probably Path for Bob and Hero. Palace Jailer is something I'll consider. I don't know that I'll actually bring in the second one. So I don't want this. I probably don't want Jailer against the tokens. Probably don't want the Thalias. And then it gets harder from there. Oh no, they do have Mox Diamonds, but I'm not willing to play a Chalice, which is a bad card, just to try to, like, gimp some wins. So maybe I don't go Path Deep, since I have, like, these Ballistas for Bobs. And then maybe I just trim one Flicker Wisp. It's awkward, though, because they're really good against the opposing Moxen. Jazzy, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I would not be surprised, but I can't confirm. Well, I don't want Prelate in the deck, so I hope that's out. Yeah. I'm going to get Batterskull with the first one of these since I have a follow-up second one. Basic lands are so strong. Damn it. Really hope my opponent doesn't have another Swords to Plowshares to cleanly answer the Spirit Keeper. Because my opponent, like, having to EE away my Stoneforges would be awesome. And then, like, the Spirit Keeper just gets huge value as the game goes on. Seems weird to tap Scrubland over Swamp there. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, my opponent's deck is awesome. But you know I have Swords to Plowshares. Whee! Yeah, they have vigilance. They have lots of words written on them. So I think I'm just gonna hold this land rather than play it out. Maybe make my opponent use another discard spell on me and get some value. These have been some awesome games. This is super fun. I think on the draw, I do want my Relic Warder. Maybe I'm supposed to just trim a mom. A lot of my opponents... A lot of the way my opponent is going to do damage involves damage in the air with, like, the Lingering Souls tokens. So, mom stalling out the ground isn't as big of a deal. It's still a very powerful card, especially because it protects Hallowed Spiritkeeper from Swords to Plowshares. But I wonder if I should be more answer dense for the post-sideboard games. Because, like, an unchecked Bob, if my opponent just, like, plays one on turn 1, is disastrous. Puts me a little creature light. It puts me at 20 creatures. Our hand's great. Our hand's a little bit less great now. Ah, the fear of Hallowed Spiritkeeper is there. There was no thought there, right? Just like, nope, it's Spiritkeeper. Oh, yeah. 100% taking that freebie. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Who designed Thalia? Some genius, really. Okay, so I'm not actually sure what my best play here is. If I play Crusader, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, it's 9 damage. That would mean my opponent can't. So how do I lose? If I play Crusader, my opponent could do something like deluge my board, and it would be rough. I think I want to play Port and just pass. My opponent can wasteland my Port, so I can't port them off of black, in which case I can wasteland their follow-up land that they play. And my opponent's on a two-turn clock still. All right, Lily Last Hope's pretty good. So that gets my Flicker Wisp. I probably ignore the Lily and try to kill my opponent. So I can whack them to 8 here, which is just 2 Mirren Crusader hits. And Lily does nothing to interact with Crusader. Neat. So the reason why I'm playing this out into a potential sweeper is that if my opponent like minuses this, they could potentially find a blocker. Yeah, that was a really cool match. That was super interactive, and my opponent's version of Dead Guy L seems sweet. Note though that it's very possible that I only won that game due to my opponent misclicking that one turn where they went and Chrome Moxed their Swords to Plowshares and then used that to plow me. On that turn, they wanted to play the tapped land. That could have changed the course of the game. I've got a very solid hand against a fair deck. I think my opponent... Well, never mind. The last time I played my opponent, I thought they were playing Maverick, which is clearly not the case. So he could be looking at Storm, could be looking at Grixis Control, could be looking at Sneak and Show. Currently unclear. Probably will clear up a whole lot this turn, and Preordain was 1 bottom, 1 top. Not sure what the holdup is. This pause might mean there's storm and they're trying to figure out if I'm dead. Or they might have answered the door to get a pizza. I feel like my opponent's Ant. My opponent's going to take this long. I'm going to go and get some more lemonade. Duress me. What are you looking for with your duress? So we go and we get Batterskull here to play around and empty the Warrens if that's something that has to happen. Maybe he was looking up what deck plays Plains and Mother of Runes. Whew. Whew. Alright, now it seems like I'm dead. Note that the Chalice of the Voids are super spicy here. Holy shit, my opponent is just going for it? They're doing Past in Flames for a Preordain. And they went bottom. That was aggressive. That was super aggressive. Wow. Yeah, my opponent must believe that their way to win this game is to go and flashback this Past in Flames later with these two rituals. We're drawing hot. Yeah, so, like, there is a reason to cast the Thoughtseize, and that's because some of your cards do require you to be Hellbent for, like, full efficiency. So, like, my opponent is likely to cast that at some point in the game anyway. No, Revoker is insane here. Like, shutting off the LED means that my opponent does not have red mana to cast this Past in Flames. So the draws that can actually get my opponent there are very, very few at this point. All right, so this one is for this. So yes, I took that up. This one is for that. I'll say always no to that. Rain of Filth. Okay. Can't get the LED off the table. We almost had the perfect victory. But props to my opponent for sacking out all of their stuff. Alright. So, what do I want? Chalices are legitimately insane. Recruiter's good. Relic Order's probably good enough. Rest in Peace is good enough. And I'll consider Council's Judgment proactively for a Dread of Night, depending on, like, how many cards I have that I want to board out. So, 100%, my Swords to Plowshares come out. They're terrible. I think I've been going Jitte out, Jailer out, and then I often board out some Wisps. Walking Ballista is also pretty bad. I probably want to proactively play these for Dread of Night, and so I can trim 2 Wisps. Hallowed Spiritkeeper, when I'm bringing in Rest in Peace, is medium. We'll go with medium. But I don't think I want anything that's in the sideboard over them. Like, the only real question is, like, is Flicker Wisp better than Spirit Keeper? Spirit Keeper lives through a Dread of Night, but the tokens don't do anything through a Dread of Night. Spirit Keeper's sweet if my opponent massacres, though. I'll play 1. This hand's pretty bad. I'm gonna mulligan this one. This hand's also pretty bad. I'm gonna ship this one too. I will consider conceding if my opponent thought seizes me on turn 1. Just to not show the chalice. So that's 1 top, 1 bottom. Alright, so the question is, do I cast this chalice on 0, or do I wait 1 turn to cast it on 1? I don't have a play for next turn currently. But if my opponent just, like, thought seizes me, I'm donezo. I think I play it on 0. But I do think that it is close. This is the pause where my opponent's going, what the fuck? Yeah, so my opponent not being able to cast an LED may make it so it's much more difficult to go Hellbent and bring me some more, like, buy me some more time. If I hit another land drop, then I have, like, Recruiter for something like a Thalia or a Sanctum Prelate or something like that. So I am trying to, like, guaranteed buy time. Chalice on 1 is certainly better than Chalice on 0. But hopefully our little speed bump works. If my opponent plays something like an Underground Sea, I don't know whether or not I'd actually Wasteland. Yeah, when you're on the front edge of innovation, a lot of times people are like, "God, that card's so bad. No one plays that card. Why are you playing that card?" And then you just point out to them, "Hey, did you just lose to this card? Maybe it's not bad." And then just, like, the salt floweth. That'll do. Man, my opponent doesn't even have, like, a Dread of Night or something? Awesome. So I can Recruiter for another piece of hate, or I can just waste and port my opponent. Which I think is what I want to do. Should have technically done this end of combat. Yeah, Chalice has certainly overperformed for me. Unquestionably. I mean, I'll be at other paper events in the area again soon. Don't worry. You'll see me again. Echoing Truth on the Thalia. Okay. So my opponent got to Brainstorm, so they might have been able to, like... Alright, that works too. I'm not going to sacrifice a land. So to finish my thought, since my opponent got to brainstorm, they might have gotten to put away their artifacts from earlier that mattered. So even if this Chalice on 0 was still around, there was a very decent chance that I was just going to die there anyway. Alright, there was a Dark Ritual there that I missed. Dark Petition. Thought sees me. Puts him to 9. LED. LED. 1 card left. Infernal Tutor. Well, that's bad for me. Storm counts 8, so my opponent can go get Infernal Tutor for either Past in Flames or just like Infernal Tutor for Tendrils. Yeah, I really needed another land drop or two that game in order to take advantage of all of the cards I had. Don't think I'm going to change anything about sideboarding. We'll just run this back. My opponent may end up with a couple more answers to Chalice now, though, so that's something to keep in mind. Nope. Rest in Peace is a soft hate card. It's not the, like, Thalia or Chalice or Revoker that I want. Alright, how many, like, great cards I have to mull to? So I could mull to Thalia, Revoker, or Chalice. So there's 8 awesome cards to mulligan to. I should probably just accept this as a 6-card hand. I think, like, this is a fine 6, with the Scry giving me the potential for, like, a Thalia or Chalice that I could cast on turn 2. Like, the nice thing is that if my opponent, like, uses a Duress or Thoughtseizes on me and takes the Rest in Peace, then I do still have Stoneforge for Batterskull as a follow-up play. And that's an annoyance when my opponent is lower on resources than normal. My opponent apparently has a real tough decision. Mary Crusader, 100% on bottom. Well, if we get turn 1, then basically whatever we did didn't matter. So Rest in Peace stops value off of Cabal Ritual. It stops the Past in Flames kill. And it turns off, God, what's it called? Spell Mastery for Dark Petition. And those are all things that, like, individually matter a little bit, but it's certainly the sort of thing that you can play around. That Dread of Night doesn't, like, super matter here. So I can Recruiter of the Guard for a Sanctum Prelate here, or I can just Wasteland them and play Stoneforge Mystic for Batterskull, which I think is going to be better. So my opponent didn't have a black fetch or a basic swamp in hand, so it's very likely that I get to stick the Batterskull in this position. Now, I'm aware that I turned off my Spirit Keeper. It's fine, it's still a 2-1. It still attacks. Like, it's certainly better than the Flicker Wisp that would be in its spot. No shuffle. Second Dread of Night. That's annoying. So I've got 2 Council Judgments that I can draw to, plus Leona Relic Warder off of Recruiter of the Guard. So this is actually fine. Dwight Lightcaster is basically unplayable. It's very good against Shadow and super mediocre everywhere else. Alright. So this is the Exile one. And that's the Leaves one. Well, that's annoying. Alright, I mean, like, it's whatever, because I can still just, like, hard cast a Batterskull in one more land. And if that's my opponent's best use of resources, I'm probably pretty safe. It was 1 bottom, 1 top. Yeah, so we get a Revoker, which can shut off the LED and live through Dread of Night. I'd be somewhat surprised if I'm not just dead, though. Like, my opponent's hand seems clunky. I wonder if they've just, like, over-sideboarded and they've got, like, a bunch of, like, Chain of Vapor, Echoing Truth type BS in their hand that they can't do much with. Should have boarded in Crusade. A Brainstorm's scary. That could put my opponent pretty close to going off, if not going off. My opponent's also incentivized to try to go off this turn if they can, because the Revoker comes down the next turn, shutting off LED. Alright, well, they can only get 1 of Revoker and Batterskull, so I still have a threat. No shuffle. Draw the card with Ponder. Am I dead? Decay the rest in peace. Now what? Where is this going? Are you just getting goblins in the face of my Batterskull in hand? Oh no, Adnaz. Okay. That's fine. Oddly enough, opponent is kind of making their hand worse here. And one Batterskull attack is now lethal. Yeah, their Adnaz was rough. But I feel like part of that is on them, right? Like, my opponent boarded in Echoing Truth, Abrupt Decay, Double Dread of Night, at least one Chain of Vapor in addition to that. My opponent might have overboarded, and that's part of what's leading to the clunkiness of me, like, not being dead. So the spirits are white too, so that's not going to get me anywhere. Oh, an extra -1/-1 spirit. I see. I see. All right. With Past in Flames and all of those rituals, I am just dead now. Assuming my opponent actually left tendrils in their deck, which I think is a safe assumption. That's a shame. That one didn't break my way. Like, I had so many things go wrong. Like, my opponent having double Dread of Night was rough. My opponent being able to save one of those Dread of Nights so I couldn't just win the game with a Sanctum Prelate was rough. Not drawing the 5th land for Batterskull for a number of turns was also rough. Then again, their Ad Nauseam wasn't the best either, so... Guess we'll call it even. I'm gonna grab another drink while I'm in the queue. Alright, so for anyone who's joined recently, hello, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site dedicated to legacy, death, and taxes, and that is indeed what we're playing today. This stream is brought to you by one of our donators, Sifali, who donated to see this second league of the day happen. I'm not usually streaming on Friday afternoons during this time slot, but Roanoke saw some serious flooding yesterday afternoon, and there's not really much for me to do. I don't know how easy it is to leave the house at the moment, so lots of streaming this weekend in all likelihood. So just to look at the schedule for the next couple of days, tomorrow we've got this really weird Tainted Pact deck that is gonna be interesting. I have no idea how those matches are gonna go because like the deck is basically all singletons, and then you can kind of see what else we've got coming up. Let's battle. Playing against Johnny Combo. Do I want to keep this one land Aether Vial hand? Yes. It's very good if this Vial resolves. If it doesn't resolve, I have 2 Moms as my first 2 plays. Yeah, tomorrow is going to feel a lot like EDH for sure. Alright, looks like we're going to play against Maverick here. In which case, my Jitte will be very good. My opponent's Jitte will also be very good, though. So there's that. Okay, so how do I win this game? If I play Jitte this turn, unless my opponent has Gaia's Cradle, they can't swing in this turn. Doesn't do me much good to have 2 Moms. The first striker is not going to do anything against their mom, though. It doesn't really shut off Cradle as an out because my opponent could still, like, put it on Mom. Looking to draw, like, Revoker or Walking Ballista. Okay. This isn't all that bad. Like, it's bad, but I might be able to wiggle out of this. So I'm going to keep this Thalia as a surprise. And if my opponent goes all in on trying to connect with Jisei this turn, then... Alright, so... There's the pro-white I expected. I'm going to go ahead and put this in now. Okay. You're removing the Crusader. How do you not lose the game on the spot, though? That's my question. Because it felt like my opponent just lost the game. I don't know what I'm missing. I also don't understand. And, like, I don't even need to take an action here. Like, I'm super safe with, like, 2 Jitte counters plus Flicker Wisp. So I do not understand what's coming. Yeah, I mean, do whatever you got. Because I can't figure out what beats me. No, I've got this Flicker Wisp off the vial. So I'm pretty damn safe. Okay, you have a Knight of the Reliquary. Good job. Oh, please attack now that you've tapped out. I guess I can just blink this knight with the same effect as blinking the Jitte, and then also force 2 more damage with Thalia. If my opponent blocks, I just use 1 counter to minus. So there's some merit to moving this Jitte over to a second Mom. Rather than porting. Which I think I'm going to go ahead and do. Just super discourage any sort of attacks from my opponent, and let me develop aerial supremacy. Note that the only reason I'm still in this game is because my opponent really punted with the use of their Jitte counters. By just destroying my Mirren Crusader instead of like being more patient, I got Jitte counters and took over this game. And my opponent scoops it up. Alright, so I'll essentially board in all my mid-rangey sort of cards. So I'm just going to like pull a pile of cards that I'm going to think about, and then go from here. Yeah, I hope the opponent learned something there. So I don't want Sanctum Prelate, and I don't want my Thalias. But everything else here is pretty good. So Rest in Peace is a card that I frequently board in against Maverick because like it's just so good against Knight of the Reliquary. Just turning all of those into a 2/2 when they're like the most powerful card on the other side of the table is valuable. But since I'm playing Hallowed Spiritkeeper, I probably don't want to board those in. And now I definitely have like too many cards here. So I'm going to have to like make some choices about how many of these I actually want to play. So my opponent plays basics, so it's not necessarily an upgrade. There's some cases where I will just be giving them mana by casting it, but not giving them life matters sometimes when they have giant knights. Well, Ooze probably gets sideboarded out. But it may be that like I don't want to play 2 Spirit Keepers. It's just so good against Knight of the Reliquary, though, like because you chump block and you then make infinite more chump blockers. So I could see not wanting 2 Gideons. I could see not playing Relic Warder. My opponent probably only has like 2 Stone Forges. Maybe I'm not supposed to play the second one of these. Every time I change my deck list, this is one of those matchups that I kind of have to like rethink how I want to approach it. All right, so this hand's pretty great. I've got an answer to an opposing early creature like Mom. I've got mana denial elements. I have my own aggressive package. This is a flexible hand that's going to let me play Magic. Green Sun for 0. So I don't think I'm going to aggressively attack their mana here. I think I'm going to deploy my Ether Vial with the plan of, like, if they make a large creature this turn, then I'll Swords the large creature and Wasteland them. And if they don't, then I will just take, like, Night of Autumn, blow up Ether Vial. Strong. Card's very good, by the way. For anyone who hasn't played with it, it's stellar. So now I could choose to take my opponent off 2 of their mana sources, or I can play towards a longer game where I just save this for a real threat. So if I take them off of 2 mana sources, then I'll get hit for 2. My opponent will play a land. If they play something like a Stone Forge, I'm probably just 100% out of this game. Is that fine? This also is the possibility of just like an absolute free roll win, if this works though, which I think I like. So I'm super punished if my opponent goes like land Stone Forge. That's fine. So I don't think my opponent showed me black last game. So this should be a pretty safe line. Natural Jitte would be super rough here. Do I have a Walking Ballista? I do have one in my deck. Well, that's going to be real good. Real good. Okay, is that better or worse than just Stoneforging for Jitte here, though? Worse, because my opponent has both white and green blockers. Well, now that my opponent's tapped out, yes, I will block. This should have happened beforehand. Note that I'm going to try to keep this walking ballista on the table, so I'm not just going to like shoot two things dead right now, because I can just like block with the ballista and then kill two things or something like that. And if I can just keep putting counters on this ballista, it's probably unbeatable. All right, your knight has protection. I can take this hit pretty safely. It'll be 6 because my opponent's going to fetch. My opponent does not fetch. Reasons unknown. That should not be in your deck post sideboard. That is like one of the worst cards in the matchup. Oh, Truckus. That would be awesome. Is Truckus123 your MTGO account name as well? Because I would love that. I would like to respond. Okay. I will hit you up after this match because this is the last one of this stream. So we're going to go ahead and blow up this Caracas. It can allow my opponent to like keep bouncing their Thalia, which could be annoying. Yeah, it's an actual pen and paper. All right, so now we'll start pecking down my opponent's board with the Walking Ballista. Targeting their Thalia. That's the thing they want to protect here. I'm convinced that Johnny Combo is new to Maverick, or at least new to this matchup. Okay. So you don't play out your land before making an all-in attack like this. So I'm fine with just trading Recruiter for that. protecting from the knight, and taking 2 damage. So I could pump Ballista and kill both the Noble Hierarch and the Thalia, but I'm probably better off just, like, putting a Jitte into play. Although I could honestly also just get, like, Batterskull on this board, and it'd be pretty good. Yeah, maybe just continuing to take up Walking Ballista is fine. Man with a Plan unknown. I'll take a look at deck lists later when we actually reach the High Tide goal, and I'll figure that out. What do you think I'm gonna do? Not block? If my opponent was slightly better, I would say that that attack would indicate something like a Swords to Plowshares being drawn, but I don't know if that's actually true. Another knight. Well, those are some big boys now. So if I don't go for Jitte counters this turn, which Okay, so I could pay 2 mana, Swords to Plowshares this night, equip Stoneforge, use Ballista to kill Thalia, or just attack him with Stoneforge. So I lose if my opponent just, like, connects with a knight and kills me, so I need to play towards that not happening. I don't think my opponent has a Maze of Ith in their deck, otherwise that would already be in play to prevent me connecting with Jitte this turn. I can also just, like, pump Ballista, kill both of these, Swords one of these, and then just, like, press my advantage. Which I think I like. Or I should say, like, have the opportunity to use both of those. Oh shit, this doesn't let me swords. Shit, shit, shit. Or, no, it does. I knew what I was doing. I just had already accounted for that. So note that I am going to kill the first one of these before my opponent has a chance to, like, untap with both knights and then gain even more life. And opponent, you could hold some lands and, like, make me wonder. And just, like, not make everything I do 100% safe. I'm very confused why they're fetching with Knight here. Wasteland. Would you like to wasteland me during my upkeep? You bet. You bet. That play was super bad. Ooh. Recruiter's awesome. Yeah, I think my opponent sideboarded poorly, as evidenced by the Thalia still being in the deck. I think they evaluate the matchup poorly, as evidenced by their Jitte use in game 1. And I don't know if they have good targets, like 100% for sure. But if they have anything that they can be fetching with this knight, they need to be. So note, I'm going to remove one counter here, because doing so will keep my opponent from using a green sun for 3, which could get another Knight of Autumn. Yeah, but sweet, another Thalia. Man, I'm so glad my opponent has more of those in the deck for me to eat. Why are you using this knight right now? Do you think this game is about mana? Do you think this game's about mana? It's not about mana. Opponent sure does have a 12/12. So I'm just going to attack for 1 with the Stoneforge Mystic. Leaving more bodies back is safe in the case of something stupid happening. I could see an argument for pumping my Walking Ballista to play around Zealous Persecution. As that's one of the few cards that would beat me. But I think I'm going to close the game in 1 turn. So I'm going to go ahead and get a Palace Jailer. And then I'll just slam that on the knight next turn, and then we're done. And we get there. Okay, so let's go ahead and break things down here. How am I feeling about this deck list? And the answer is very well. So I am currently 8-2 with this deck list here. And it has hedged more against fair decks. And as we go and play against more and more and more fair decks as time goes on, those decisions just seem correct. The Chalices were a little awkward in the red-black Reanimator matchup, but again, that's something that the changes that I've made here to beat fair decks make me worse against super fast combo decks, in particular red-black Reanimator, since they can go under a Chalice a lot of times or ignore Chalice, and you really just need targeted fast graveyard hate against them. So as a whole, I've been really liking this deck list, and it's something that I'm going to continue playing. The Spirit Keepers were pretty good today. We made a handful of tokens a few times, and it was very, very relevant. We did see the non-bow with it with Rest in Peace once, but there was already a Double Dread at night of play when that happened, so we already had some other problems. So I hope you all enjoyed the bonus double fill stream today. Again, I had the day off of work because of flooding, so I had the luxury to do so. I'm going to go ahead and call it an afternoon here. I am going to turn you over to another D&T streamer, XJ Cloud. I'm going to go ahead and host his stream so you can see some more D&T content. I want to thank Safali for donating to make this stream this afternoon happen. And I want to preemptively thank Truckus123, or I would like to respond, for offering to donate some tickets to the stream. So everyone, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Phil Gallagher, and if you really enjoyed my content today, feel free to come back tomorrow for some Tainted Pact. I think that's going to be something special, and I hope it's as much fun as I want it to be. And on my way out the door, I want to thank my sponsors, Cardboard Live and Card Hoarder, for making this stream awesome. Cheers, folks.